Hey, welcome back. Have you ever been glued to the news watching a huge disaster unfold? A hurricane, a massive wildfire, some kind of chemical spill, and you just wonder, how on earth do all those different people from all those different agencies actually work together? Well, turns out there's this incredible, invisible system running the whole show. It's a universal playbook for emergencies, and today we're going to break it down.
You see, when a crisis hits, the first thing you're fighting isn't the fire or the flood. The number one enemy is just pure chaos. It's miscommunication, it's people doing the same job twice, it's total confusion. That's the stuff that can take a bad situation and make it a complete catastrophe. But what's amazing is that behind almost every major response you see today, there's a framework, quietly, methodically, bringing order to that chaos. All right, so to really get why this system is so important, we have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to a time before it even existed. And the perfect place to start is the totally devastating 1970 wildfire season in Southern California. We're talking 13 straight days of absolute uncoordinated mayhem. I mean, just try to picture this scene. You've got multiple fires burning out of control all over the region. And right in the middle of it all, you have fire trucks from different departments literally passing each other on the highway, going in opposite directions to fight the exact same fires. It was a total mess. Nobody was talking to each other. It was the very definition of disorganized. And the price tag for that chaos? It was just staggering. In less than 2 weeks, those fires racked up over $234 million in damages. They burned 500,000 acres, wiped out over 700 buildings, and tragically, 16 people lost their lives. It was a massive wake-up call that something was fundamentally, deeply broken in how they responded to emergencies. So when the experts dug into what went wrong, they realized the chaos wasn't random at all. It came down to a handful of critical failures, which you can see right here. I mean, think about it. You've got people using different words for the same thing. You have multiple command posts popping up, basically fighting each other for control of the same incident. Radio systems that can't talk to each other. No single, clear chain of command. Each one of these problems just made the others worse, and it all spiraled into a complete breakdown. But, sometimes it takes a disaster to spark a revolution. And out of the ashes of those fires came a brand new idea. Congress actually set aside money for the U.S. Forest Service to pull together a task force. Their mission was simple but huge: figure out how to stop this from ever happening again. And that task force was called Firescope. What they did was bring 7 different, often competing, agencies to the same table. We're talking everyone from the LA County Fire Department to the U.S. Forest Service. And their job wasn't just to make a few tweaks here and there. They were told to make a quantum jump in how emergency response worked, a total overhaul. And what's so brilliant is how they did it. They didn't just write a new rulebook. They started with a set of core principles, and each one was designed to directly attack a failure from the 1970 fires. So you got people using different words? Okay, from now on, uniformity is mandatory. You have bad information flying around? Well, accurate data is now paramount. This wasn't just a new procedure. It was a totally new way of thinking. A whole new philosophy. You can think of it like this. All those different agencies were basically speaking different languages, right in the middle of a 5-alarm fire. What Firescope set out to build was a universal translator, a common operating system that anyone from any agency could just plug into and immediately know their role and what was going on. And that system, they called it the Incident Command System, or ICS for short. So what does this playbook actually look like in action? The real beauty of ICS is that its principles work for everything, not just giant wildfires. So let's use a much simpler example, something you might see in a training exercise: a city sinkhole that causes a big water main break. Okay, the first piece of absolute genius in ICS is its modular design. It's all about scaling. This diagram here, which is actually from a Brazilian training manual, shows it perfectly. On the left, you've got a really simple incident, right? Just a commander and a couple of teams. But as that crisis gets bigger, like you see on the right, the structure just expands. You don't have to invent a new system. You just activate new sections as you need them: planning, logistics, finance. It's incredible. The same core structure can handle a sinkhole or a Category 5 hurricane. Now, this next idea is so simple but so powerful. It's called span of control. The whole point is to keep any single person from getting completely overwhelmed. So ICS has a hard rule. A manager should supervise about 5 people, and never, ever more than 7. If your team grows to 8 people, you don't just add them on. Nope. You split the team in 2 and create a new leader.
It's this simple, elegant rule that keeps the chain of command crystal clear and stops anyone from drowning in information. And maybe one of the most revolutionary ideas was something called unified command. There's this great story from the early days when Vice President Mondale's team came to visit a command center. They were totally baffled. They kept pulling people aside, asking, okay, I get it, but who is really in charge here? They just couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that a process was running the show, not a single person with ultimate authority. With unified command, leaders from fire, public works, police, they all work together, side by side, sharing the same goals, without one person being the boss of the others. So this system worked so incredibly well for California wildfires that it didn't take long for other people to start paying attention. What started as a tool for fighting fires was about to go global. This timeline just shows its amazing journey. In '89, the Exxon Valdez oil spill happened. And guess what? They saw the exact same problems as the 1970 fires. Multiple command posts, terrible coordination. That led the Coast Guard to adopt ICS. Then, after 9/11, it became the national standard for all types of hazards in the US. And from there, it just exploded across the world. And we're not just talking about countries copying and pasting the American model. Not at all. Here you can see the cover of Brazil's official training manual for their version of ICS. Countries all over the world have taken these core principles and adapted them to fit their own cultures and needs. It just proves that the fundamental ideas, common language, modular structure, unified command, they're truly universal. Okay, so we've covered where ICS came from and the basics of how it works. But let's bring it back. Why does any of this matter to you? How does this invisible system actually show up in the real world when you're watching the news? Well, here's the big takeaway for you. The next time you see footage from an emergency, you'll be able to decode what's happening. You'll know you're not just looking at a chaotic crowd of people in vests, you're watching a highly organized system in action. You might see someone in a green vest. That's probably your incident commander. Someone in orange, they're likely in charge of operations. You're literally seeing a team of experts who might have never met before, all speaking the same language and working towards the same goals, all thanks to this system. Because at the end of the day, that's what the incident command system is. It's an invisible framework. It's a common language. And it's what allows a firefighter from one town, a police officer from another, and a public works official to show up at the absolute worst moment imaginable and instantly start working together like they've been on the same team for years. So now, the next time you see a disaster on the news, you won't just see the chaos anymore. You'll see the system that was designed to beat it. And it kind of leaves you with one last question to think about. In every single crisis, the system provides the structure, but it still needs people to make